Namaste.
Namaste.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think everyone today is from Asia, so I can safely say good afternoon. Turn your cameras on. Yes, thank you so much. And I hope you have your flowers with you. Nice. Ajay is the only one not from Asia, but you're from the Middle East. That's all right. All of us are awake. It's not like we have a night time anywhere. Hi, Kanesh.
It's afternoon here also.
Oh, nice. Fantastic. Lovely. So first, before get going today, I wanted to first say that what an amazing moment it is for all of us. 108 days together. And I know that some of you have been there every day. Some of you have been there some days. But even on the days that you have not been there, I know at 9 p.m. Singapore time, you think of all of us in this community. And we also think of all of you. So it's that love of being together, being in community, and experiencing the love of just being human and being together. That is amazing bliss that, undescribable, but only experienceable. So it's been such a wonderful journey. As I was saying to some of you today, it's on that journey of being towards the end of that marathon, but imagine a marathon where we're all holding hands and been going on for 100 kilometers together. So thank you very much all for your love, for your presence, and that we together have been able to experience this together. We'll never forget COVID for this one reason, that we were all together for 108 days. So what a positive way for us to experience these days. We'll start today with a short prayer. Nitya is here. So Nitya, welcome. As I've always said, everything begins for us with an auspicious start. In Yoga Sutra, we call it Atha. In most of the big texts, it will always say Atha. And for us, the symbolism and the metaphor for Atha is Nitya. So for any auspicious start, we always invite Nitya to be in it, whether it's Calm and Chaos, Meditation Sundays, Being Sattva, or our retreat. So lots of love, Nitya. Welcome.
Welcome.
So we'll start with a short prayer before we hand over.
Yeah.
Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We begin this first online retreat of Being Sattva with Nitya Shanti, a very dear friend who has actually done a few retreats, beautiful retreats at Being Sattva in Bali as well. Nitya is a crusader of happiness. Nitya's teachings are all about how to be fully present and responsive and relaxed. Responsive with relaxed alertness. He teaches all of us how to be harmonious with ourselves, with others, and with life itself. All this leads to a constant state of happiness, of bliss. Over to Nitya.
Thank you, Renuka. Where have you disappeared? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, come.
Yeah. No. I was going to my laptop, to my own screen.
Okay.
Never mind. It's okay. I'll be here.
Nitya, we have time. Your question, I've kept kind of 30, 35 minutes for the practice. And then we have 10, 15 minutes to interact.
Sure. All right. So we were all supposed to wear red today, right? And you know, I forgot that and I just happened to put this on. So I'm so lucky. It's kind of orange, but I guess it works. Amazing. So good to be here with all of you. Yeah. So I've been doing this kind of work for many years. And one interesting thing that's come to me, I don't know whether you call it a intuition or you call it imagination or whatever, but I seem to get, just give me a second, I'm getting some notification, I'm going to put them silent. Yeah, so I seem to get an intuition about the groups I'm going to work with before I work with them. You can call it imagination, you can call it whatever, right? And I'm able to sense into those groups before I even interact with them. And I got such a beautiful energy for this group. I was really looking forward to this. Such a beautiful, so certain groups, it's not that I'm nurturing them, that they're nurturing me in turn. So that's the sense I'm getting, that not only will I be sharing with you, you will be equally sharing with me. And I'm going to be enriched through this interaction. And I think a lot of that goes to also Renuka and Subha and the kind of intention that they put out. You know, we are all, the circumstances in our life, it's all responding to our intention. And so the more aligned we are, the more everything in our life aligns itself. It's a very powerful perspective. So the sense I got for this group is, I don't really have to teach anything. I have to hang out with you. And maybe I'll share a few things, but it's not really something that really has to be. So more important, in other words, more important than my words is maybe the gap between my words, maybe the silence in between. And so then you listen in a special way. So yeah, your surface mind wants to be kept entertained or wants to be kept activated. But there's a deeper part of your being that just wants those gaps. And also notice that. I have a friend in the US and she's a world-class flautist, plays the flute. And I asked her one day, I said, so what's your process? What is it that you've learned in your studies? So she said, it's really about being present. It's all about being present. And the more present I am, the more the music just flows. And she said something curious. Some of you might have heard this. I think it's a famous quote in musical circles, that if I don't practice for one day, I know. If I don't practice for 2 days, my accompanying musicians know. If I don't practice for 3 days, my audience starts to know. So we're having this very rich conversation. And I asked her a question. I said, tell me something. Are you really a student of music? Or are you a student of silence? So she was struck by this question. She kind of actually became silent. And after a while, she said, that's fascinating. I never thought of it like that. But I think it's right. Actually, more than a student of music, I'm a student of silence. Because the more in tune and present I am, the more silent, inwardly silent I am, the music just happens. And the more busy I am on the inside, the more of an effort it is. Or it doesn't feel fresh at any rate. I imagine all of you have experienced a state of flow in some dimension of your life. You would not be attracted to a gathering like this unless you had. There's a story about Leo Tolstoy that he was working with a scythe in a field once. He was cutting whatever he was cutting, whether it was maize or whatever crop he was cutting. And in that process, he got into a state of flow. He got into a sense of that it was not him cutting the field, that he was the field. And the field was cutting itself. The field was kind of just taking care of itself. In other words, he felt that moment of oneness with the field and the scythe and the crop and the sky and the earth. And he just became that. And the story goes that it was such a powerful experience that influenced him for the rest of his life. And he tried to recapture it for years, trying to cut so much. He never quite got back to that. He kind of accidentally stumbled upon it. But of course, that reflects in his art and his writing and everything. So I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm totally sure that every single one of you, in one way or the other, has tasted this. And this taste is what brings you back to sessions like this, because you know, there's something. It's hard to describe. So the topic we kept for today is happy for no reason. It's a really good topic. Because our mind tells us we need a reason. Something has to happen. Come on. You can't just be happy for no reason. There's a funny thing about, when kids laugh, then other kids around them also start smiling and laughing. And of course, the grown-ups feel so happy. Look at these cute kids, they're laughing away. But when grown-ups laugh, then somebody asks you, hey, why are you laughing? What are you smiling? What are you laughing about? And if you happen to say by mistake, there's no reason, they'll say, oh, there's no reason. This is very fishy. You're laughing for no reason. And they're going to start thinking something's wrong with this person. This person laughs for no reason. So we have these double standards. When kids laugh, we just join them. We don't worry why they're laughing. In fact, in my workshops, I have some of these cute videos of babies smiling and gurgling and laughing. And sometimes I just start my session with playing this 3-minute video. The babies is laughing. Or there's one video where this person tears a piece of paper. It's quite a famous video on YouTube. He tears a piece of paper and the baby starts exploding in laughter. He tears another piece of paper and the baby somehow loves the sound of this paper being torn. And so the more paper he tears, the more this baby is just laughing. And I just start my workshop sometimes with this little video and everyone's laughing away and they don't even know why they're laughing. What do they laugh about? So mirror neurons, they tell us, because we're social beings. So when you see someone else smiling and laughing, then you also tend to smile and laugh. Mirror neurons. So we're interconnected. So this is a real gift. It's very few in this world who get to discover. It really is a discovery because it's there anyway, but you may not discover it. My teacher said that there are many people in this world who will live their entire life without being aware of a single in and out breath. They're so caught up in the story. They're so hooked into the matrix or the stuff that's going on in their lives. They will not even be aware of a single in and out breath. Right now, let's not be one of those. Go ahead, take one complete in and out breath with awareness. So if you can learn to enjoy a breath like you are right now. Then you learn to tap into this dimension of happy for no reason. And this is a really powerful thing because the moment you're happy for a reason or some reason, whether you like it or not, at some level, you become a beggar in this world. You have. Because now you require something. You're in search of something. Always. Like I recently launched a course. It's a very simple concept. It's called Arigato Money. And all you have to do in this course is for 21 days, you're just going to say thank you to money. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In different ways, you're saying thank you. That's all it's about. The whole course is about saying thank you to money. So a lot of people signed up. And there was some mix-up, and one person's email address either got wrongly typed or whatever. This person did not get any information about the course. So he sent a very angry message to my secretary's assistant, and he's saying that, you know what, I signed up for this course, and there's no information, and the course has started, and you people have left me out, and I'm very upset. And as it is, my life is difficult on top of that. This is also not happening. Very upset. So my secretary told me, can you please handle him? So I messaged him, so sorry that something got misplaced, something got out of the van. You weren't given the information. So I'll give you 3 options. You can either join the course now. I know you've missed a lesson, but you can just catch up with it. Or you can join the next course, or we can refund your money. What would you like? And the moment I was just receptive to him and just able to tune into him, he just completely relaxed. And he began to say, you know, there must be a good reason for this. I'm sure there's a good reason for this. And I'm happy to wait for the next batch, and I will join that batch. Now, even a good thing like joining a course for being grateful, even that we can make stress out of. You've noticed this? Even that has become a stressful thing. Oh, I didn't get the email. Oh, look at this. And we forget the main point. The main point was just to be grateful. And the moment I was able to tune into him and empathize with him, he just completely relaxed. In fact, late at night, he's messaging me, please don't bother with this. Please sleep now. I'm sure you have other things to do. Please don't. The whole energy shifted. So this means being aware of our agendas. It's not saying don't have an agenda. We will have an agenda. We can't be unrealistic. We will have an agenda as we go through life. But to become aware of your agenda, this is very important. If you're not aware of your agenda, then you're living unconsciously. You start playing all kinds of games. In the name of spirituality, you'll play all kinds of games. In the name of meditation, you'll play all kinds of games. There's a famous teacher, Neale Walsch. He's written a series of books called Conversations with God. And in one of his talks or books, I'm forgetting, he was writing about how a big breakthrough for him was when he was addressing a gathering. And he relaxed to the extent where if some people got up and walked out, it didn't create a stir in him. Oh, what did I just say? Why these people left? Did they not like what I said? That was a big breakthrough for him. That, oh, I can talk and people can get up and leave. Now, see, we assume they didn't like what I said, but maybe they have an appointment, maybe they got a call, maybe someone's sick. How do you know what really happened? But you're assuming, oh, they didn't like what I said. And let's assume they didn't like what you said. Isn't that an authentic person? Don't we like authentic people? This is an authentic person, right? Who's being true to themselves. We like those. We say we like those guys. We don't like more. Everyone will agree I don't like hypocrites. Now here you have the least hypocritical person who's just getting up and walking out in a gathering. He's not willing to put up with anything that does not resonate. Wonderful. Love it. There are 2 disclaimers of spirituality. Just because it works for me doesn't mean it'll work for you. I didn't know this. In the beginning, when I learned meditation, I wanted to make everyone meditate. No matter what problem. They had a headache. They said, I said, you don't meditate, that's why you're headache. Relationship problem, you don't meditate, that's why you fight so much. Anything they'd say, I said, you don't meditate, that's the reason. And my single point agenda was one way or the other. And it must have been hard. It must have been bugging to talk to me. Because within 2 minutes of any conversation, I'll bring in meditation one way or the other. I became evangelical about this. I wanted everyone to meditate. But the truth is, just because it works for me, doesn't mean it'll work for you. And the second one is even more cute, the disclaimer. Just because you think it works for you, doesn't mean it really works for you. That's a really good one. We've got to be honest with ourselves. It just feels really good. Oh, what a great philosophy, what a great teacher, what a great community. But then nothing is changing within you. The same stuff is going on. The same patterns are still repeating. But now they've got a spiritualized kind of logo on them. Right? I found this funny when I became a monk. I went to a particularly austere monastery. I was living as a monk for a few years. I went to a particularly austere monastery. So we have only one set of robes. We have one bowl. In any case, monks have one bowl. But one bowl, one set of robes. We only eat once a day. And we have very few possessions. In any case, monks are supposed to have few possessions, but monks, as anybody else, they can start accumulating allowable things like books and all. Anywhere you can start accumulating stuff. So our teacher actually had an interesting rule. Suddenly every few weeks or few months, he'd suddenly one day announce, okay, everyone's changing their hut. We all had our own huts. Change your huts. And we had what's called a kuti master. The person, kuti is like a hut. So his job was to allocate new huts. And there was one rule our teacher had. Move everything in one go. You shouldn't have to make 2 trips. Move all your stuff in one go. You're forced to keep it simple. And then sometimes we go to visit branch monasteries, and we had a storeroom in our monastery. So there was a habit some monks had, I'll leave some stuff a little bit, leave it in the storeroom. When I come back, no, he canceled that. You're not allowed to leave anything in the storeroom. Take everything with you. Don't leave stuff behind. People would still try to get other monks. Can you please keep a few things in this little bit, please? But the rule was you're not allowed to leave anything. Take everything. This is very powerful teaching. Man. Just travel light. What is this accumulative mindset, hoarding mindset that you have? So in this tradition, I found it fascinating because the human mind, of course, doesn't change. So one of the things we had to do was we had to stitch our own robes. So the first time in my life, I had to learn how to put a thread into a needle and how to use a sewing machine, a mechanical sewing machine. It was difficult, but I learned. I mean, I was enthusiastic. So in a few days and weeks, I figured it out. I learned, and I actually sewed and monks' robes are, it's interesting. The history is like this, that back in the day, cloth was very valuable, right? It was not as freely available as it is now. So even if you were donated cloth as a monk, the Buddha asked that you cut the cloth up and then restitch it so that it doesn't become attractive to thieves, right? And the pattern in which it's stitched looks like a paddy field from an aeroplane. You're flying over, you see a paddy field, the patchwork pattern of paddy fields? So that's the patchwork pattern. So you're supposed to take cloth and cut, even if it's given to you one big piece of cloth, you're supposed to cut it up and then stitch it back together. And if you look at, next time you see a Buddhist monk, notice their robes. It's a patchwork pattern. And so the idea is that you should be able, suppose you're not getting a big piece of cloth, you should be able to find rags in all kinds of places and stitch those rags together to create your one piece of robe. That's the idea behind it. And then no one seems out of place. Someone's got these rags stitched together. And of course you dye it, so it all becomes one uniform color. Either you have those rags stitched together or you have one piece of cloth that you've stitched together. So in my case, of course, nowadays there's no shortage of cloth, but we still had to follow that. So I had to learn to stitch all these cloths together. So now notice how the ego comes in. Huh? So now there's a particular style in which you stitch the corners. There's one very clumsy style, which you can just very quickly stitch the corner, but there's one very intricate style, which requires you to fold the cloth inside out. And it takes a little effort. So one thing I would notice is some of the monks, we had this rack where we'd hang our robes. And they'd go and just casually pick up the corner of the robe to see how well is it stitched. So now this is my robe is stitched better than you. My corner is better than your corner. You see? So there is no end to this, right? There is no end to the games we can play. Even the robes and the simplicity of that, even in that austerity, you can find pride. I found pride in my austerity. I would try to be more austere than the other monks. I mean, I can see all this now, but back then I couldn't see it. I would try to have more, I would live outdoors. We had huts, but then you had the optional practice of living outdoors in the deep forest. Just live outdoors, just with a simple mosquito net. So I would live outdoors more, and my robes would be more ragged than other people's robes. And I would take on all these extra practices. And that's called spiritual materialism. I'm going to one-up you spiritually. Of course, I didn't realize I was doing it. But this is it. I'm humbler than you, you see. I'm more humble than you. I'm more simple than you are. So the only thing that can catch this is awareness. Nothing else can catch this. Only your awareness can catch this. Again, just go ahead and enjoy one beautiful breath. So the reason we practice, whether it's watching a breath or whether it's doing yoga or meditation, is to start acquiring a certain taste. And what is that taste? That taste is a tasteless taste. It's a taste of emptying yourself. Most of our life, we have learned the happiness of accumulation, accumulating experiences, accumulating good music, accumulating friends, accumulating Instagram photographs, followers, accumulating all kinds of things. But there's another kind of happiness which comes from emptying yourself. And unless you taste it, you will not learn to value it. In fact, it'll make you very afraid. So try this right now. Keep your eyes open and just come into the present. Notice what you're seeing. Notice even more clearly what you're seeing. What are the colors? What are the shapes? You know, when you see really clearly, you can see the essence of things. My laptop has its own essence. There's some books in front of me. They have their own essence. So you have to look past your own projections, not only at it, but into it. Look into the people and the things around you. And as you're doing this practice, just check. Do you have any problems? When you're this present, when you're looking at something, hearing something, feeling something, do you have any problems right now? You all have a chat menu. You can maybe in the chat box, just say yes or no, simple. Address it to everyone. You have a problem? Yes, no, simple question. As you're so present, is there any problem? Namita says no. Sri Vidya says no. Matungi says no. Yoga with Sur says no. Yeah, beautiful. So this is a very simple question which I like to ask audiences almost wherever I go. I like to ask very simple question. When you're that present, do you have a problem? And no problem does not mean that there may be some discomfort. Maybe you're having a headache, maybe you're having a backache, maybe you're hungry, maybe you're thirsty. Whatever it is, that may happen. But is it a problem? It just is what it is, right? You click on the problem and you compare it with how it should be, could be, would be. One of my teachers, I've learned so much from her, Byron Katie. I've never met her, but I'm something like Eklavya. I've learned a lot from her. She doesn't even know how much I've learned from her, right? Sometimes this happens. Eklavya is the one who learns to be a better archer than Arjun just by installing a statue of Drona. So I've learned a lot from Byron Katie. So one of the things I learned from Byron Katie, she met a friend of hers who was a very close friend of hers. And her friend is suffering from cancer. So her friend is going on, really going into how difficult it is, and she's in the hospital, how difficult it is, how difficult it is. And Katie is just quiet, right? She's not responding. Now they've made a pact, these two, they've made a pact. She said, Katie, never lie to me. Huh? She just told her, just tell it to me the way it is, don't lie to me. So after talking for a while, she turns to Katie and says, what do you have to say? So Katie says, I don't see a problem. You don't see a problem? I've got cancer. I'm in pain over here. You don't see a problem? And she lifts her, the sheet that's covering her, she lifts the sheet. And one leg is swollen with cancer. She said, look at this. This is the problem. And Katie looks at her very compassionately and says, I understand now. The problem is you want your left leg to look like your right leg. That's the problem. You see, it's not a problem until you make it a problem. It is what it is. And of course, in the beginning, her friend is stunned, but then she smiles and she starts laughing. She says, oh my God, it's true. That's the suffering. Suffering is arguing with reality. Beautiful definition by Katie. Arguing with reality. Whenever you argue with reality, you lose only 100% of the time. Because reality has a momentum of 13.8 billion years. Which is what they say the universe began. And you have a momentum of what, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Best of luck. Best of luck arguing with reality. Reality wins every single time. So instead of arguing with reality, how about you open up to reality? Open up to the mystery. Hasn't it happened many, many, many times in your life when what you thought was a bad thing turned out to be not such a bad thing? Actually turned out to be a blessing in the long run. Turned out to be, in fact, turned out to be the thing that you grew the most, maybe. I have enough confidence in this that I can say the worst experience of your life, and you can name it, you might have been raped, doesn't matter. The worst, you might have lost a child. The worst experience of your life was the biggest blessing of your life. And I have enough confidence that I can take up any person anywhere in the world. You put them in front of me. You give me 2-3 hours with this person. And my confidence will always exceed their doubts. And they may fight with me and they may scream with me. You don't know what you're talking about. But if they just sit with me for 3 hours, they're going to come out crying. They're going to come out blissed out with the confidence that, oh my God, I never saw this. My confidence will always exceed their doubt. Because that's the way it works. So in the present moment, this is one of my biggest lessons as a monk. In the present moment, there is never any problem. Life just is the way it is. And life is simply demanding that we notice. That's all, just notice. That's all it is. It's a very simple thing. Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, says, how disappointed God would be if we don't exclaim, if we don't kind of almost explode with wonder, with awe, at least 10 times a day. How disappointed God must be with us. Because just look at you, look at the sky, look at the people, look at the things, look at your hands, for God's sake. Look at this. It's a miracle. If you don't just drown in wonder and just completely dissolve in awe, at least 10 times a day, how disappointed God must be in us. What a beautiful thing to say. Mary Oliver was once walking. She takes these long walks. You should check out the poetry of Mary Oliver, by the way. Fantastic. Maybe you should read one before we end today. She was taking a long walk and she had all these thoughts going in her head, all these big questions. Why was there a first cause? Where did it all come from? What happens after death? All these big questions are looming. And she's getting all caught up in these thoughts. And she's not able to find an answer. And she's stunned to see these beautiful wild roses and they're swaying in the breeze. And she's captivated by these beautiful wild roses dancing in the breeze. And she goes up to them and she asks them, wild roses, do you have an answer? and she hears a reply. And the wild roses say, excuse us, but right now, we are entirely busy being roses. Excuse us, but right now, we are entirely busy being roses. So imagine we are playing, what's your favorite sport? Football, cricket. Imagine all of us are playing some game that we all are totally into this game. Let's say kabaddi or football or cricket, whatever. And suddenly in the middle of it, Subba raises his hand, guys, stop. One question. Yeah, what happened? One question. Everyone stop. Yeah, what's the question? What's the purpose of life? Subba, get out of here. Let us play our game. Why are you asking these kind of silly questions? We are happily enjoying our football. We are happily enjoying our badminton. What is the purpose of life? Please leave. And we will banish Subba from that game. Why? You only asked that question because you lost the rhythm. You lost the tune, right? You got into your head. No bird has ever asked, no tree has ever asked, no cloud has ever asked, no mountain has ever asked, what's my purpose? They are their purpose. I was once doing a workshop and to the retreat. And at lunchtime, we were all eating together. And somebody looked up to me and said, Nitya, I have a question. I said, yeah, sure. He said, what's the purpose of life? So I smiled to him and said, the purpose of my life is to answer your question right now. So next morning we were having a catch up. Every morning we have a bit of a catch up. How's it going? So we had a catch up session. And he said, Nitya, I asked you this question yesterday at lunch and I didn't like your answer. I thought you were being very flippant with me. I thought you were being kind of rude actually. But something about your question challenged me. So as I was walking back to my room, the thought came, what if the purpose of my life is just to walk back to my room? And a peace came over me. And in the morning I was shaving my face and this thought popped up, what if the whole purpose of my life is to shave my face right now? And a peace came over me. And I'm beginning to see, maybe the purpose of my life is just to talk right now. And maybe later it'll be to listen. And maybe later it'll be to scratch an itch. Wow, what if that's the purpose of it? What if you waited your whole life? I've waited my whole life to say this right now. It's taken my whole life, all these years of meditating and fooling around to say this right now. It's taken my whole life and it's taken your whole life to listen, sit here and listen to this right now. And that's the reality, whether you like it or not. This is the most precious moment. It's the most intimate moment ever. Or not, if you think it isn't. That's also true. There was a conference, the Dalai Lama was attending a conference in Australia, and it was a panel. So there were all these learned people, all top authors and celebrities, big people on the panel, intellectuals. And the panel leader made the big gathering. It's being telecast nationally, right? So it's on television, hundreds of people. And the panel leader said, okay, we have just enough time for one last question. I'm going to ask all of you if you can just give a brief reply. What is one thing that you would change in the world for the happiness of all? What is the one thing that you would change? If you could change one thing that would lead to happiness, what would be that one thing? And everyone gets a turn. So someone says, I would end this horrible discrimination that women experience in every country, in every part of the world at all times. I would end the inequality, gender inequality, I would end that. Someone says, it's incredible in our planet. Next person said, it's incredible in our planet. Children go hungry. When there is food rotting in government godowns, children go hungry. I would end hunger for children in a flash. And everybody had profound answers. I would end this, I would stop this. I would make sure everyone has access to basic healthcare. When it was the Dalai Lama's turn, everyone very, very anticipated. What is the Dalai Lama going to say? When it was his turn, he got quiet for a moment. And he said, I wouldn't change anything. Nothing has to change for us to be happy. What a powerful answer. Nothing has to change. If you believe something has to change for you to be happy, haven't you played that game your whole life? This job has to change. This partner has to change. This has to change. That has to change, right? And when it changed, then I'll be happy. And how long would that happiness? Did it really last more than 3 minutes? So what a powerful answer. And this is a person whose entire country has been taken over by another country. This is a person who, so many of his people are committing suicide, self-immolating themselves. I mean, if there's anyone who can say change, he's the one who should ask for change. He's saying, no, nothing has to change. And that's the consciousness from which genuine transformation happens. It's a total paradox. This world is an absolute paradox. In fact, creation has a tremendous sense of humor. We just have to understand this. Tremendous sense of humor. And you can fight and you can argue, but the only way you'll come into alignment is when you also laugh hysterically and cry hysterically. That's the only time. My teacher once said, if you haven't broken down and cried at least 3 times, your practice hasn't even begun yet. If you haven't broken down and cried and sobbed your guts out at least 3 times, your practice hasn't even begun yet. This is the crazy paradox of this world. It's a mad paradox. It really is. So this is one of the paradoxes. It's only when you give up trying to change and improve when the maximum improvement happens. Take it from me. You can try all the self-help. You can try all the methods. It's the day you decide, done. I'm done. Don't want any of this. When the Buddha sits down and says, that's it. I'm just sitting here and now let worms eat up my body. I'm just going to sit here now. I'm done. I'm done seeking. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to sit here I'm done with it. That's when the awakening happens. It's an absolute paradox. I was just joking the other day with some friends, the sense of humor of life. I lived as a monk for 6 years. I didn't touch money for 6 years. Right? I traveled everywhere. People just would give me tickets and everything. I traveled. I didn't touch money. 6 years, no money. I lived as a celibate monk, no sexual activity, 6 years. Now look at the paradox. I'm offering a workshop on money. I find it so hilarious. All these people have signed up to learn about money from a person who never used money. Right? And when I go to Europe, one of the companies that invites me most often, it's the biggest sex website of Germany. And they create communities where people, and you know, people have all kinds of sexual preferences and they can't talk about it openly in society because we have such strong ideas about what's right and what's wrong. But people have. I'm sure everyone on this call has. Each one of you is deviant in some way. You can't express it. So this website, you can find other people like yourself. Like, I'm not the only one. So the human being has this funny quirk. We feel very happy when there are other people like us. Okay, I'm not the only one. Khalil Gibran had a nice saying. He said that if we sat down in a circle and we confessed our sins, we would laugh hysterically for our lack of originality. So isn't this a sense of humor? Life makes me offer a workshop on money for someone who never touched money for a long time. Makes me consult with, and they're all friends of mine. They're cool people, right? Amazing people. And consult with these, and I do workshops and retreats with them. It's amazing. And life is like this. It's full of paradoxes. But if you have an identity, I am this, and I believe in this, and I am all, then now you watch. Now the struggle will begin. Now life is going to start rubbing. Everything you believe you are, this is the process. You're going to get nicely, the sandpapering is going to start happening. In fact, I can give it to you. You write down something you will never do. Just write, I'll never ever do this. Put it in wrap up the piece of paper and put it securely someplace. Now come back and revisit that after a few years. And if you're honest, you're like, oh my God, I've done this. The one thing I said I'd never do, you're going to do it. They say never. Because whatever you say, and if not the exact thing, in some way you would have done it. That's how this works. If not in this lifetime, next lifetime you'll do it because you made such a big shadow out of it. I was speaking to a spiritual teacher yesterday and he confessed, his wife actually told me, that for so many lifetimes, he's been a celibate monk, celibate practitioner. And in this lifetime, he had to marry me. And his guru told him, your one secret desire that was preventing you from getting liberated was the desire to have a happy family life. So this lifetime, get it done with, have your happy family life, and this is your last lifetime. But if you again suppress, no, I'm spiritual, I'm celibate, you're done. Then again, keep on going through the process. Let's be honest. If you have it in you, then if that is there in you, then be honest with it. Instead of getting into some identity about this is the way I am and should be and could be and would be. There's nothing more powerful than being absolutely straight. This is the way I am. If you want to get an example of someone who was that straight, look up Diogenes, a philosopher from ancient Greece. Diogenes was so unabashedly himself. He would masturbate in public. He would hang out with dogs. He would laugh when other philosophers like Plato and Aristotle were talking. He'd be munching food loudly. Like total madman. What kind of a horrible human being is this? He said, no, I'm going to be true to myself. And his wisdom would shine. People would know he's not an ordinary guy. He would say things randomly, which would just completely shift people's lives. So there are some people like this. The crazy wisdom. There are people like this who believe in, who actually are the representation of crazy wisdom. And we are, believe it or not, a psychotic society. Our society itself is psychotic. What does Krishnamurti say? To be well adjusted in a profoundly insane society, or something like that, he says. It's no measure of being well integrated. The native cultures in Amazon forests, they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and they talk about their dreams. See, in these cultures, the subtler it is, the more real it is. In fact, it's even true in Indian culture. We've forgotten this now. But the subtler it is, the more. So for them, the dream world is more real than this world. And they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they sit with their shaman and they discuss dreams. So when you talk to these native people, they tell you that when they look at the modern world, our so-called civilized world, which for them is completely uncivilized, from their perspective, each one of us We are living in a nightmare. This is a nightmare. What's the nightmare? The nightmare of separation. The nightmare of lack. The nightmare that I have to consume resources to have a good life. I have to destroy that mountain, destroy that forest to raise my GDP. This is a nightmare. We've gotten so disconnected. So from their perspective, we are in a nightmare. And you know what's the scariest thing about a nightmare? You don't know it's a nightmare. You think all is well. That's the scariest part of the nightmare. You forget that you're in the dream. Take a moment again. So if you like sharing two more things, and then I'd like to open it up for questions. Just before this, it happens to me sometimes, like I said, before a session, I just start getting some kind of download. So I was first of all feeling there's nothing to share with all of you. You're already there. It's cool. We'll just hang out. And the second thing I got is, I was in a retreat in Netherlands, and a very short phrase came to me. And this phrase just, sometimes this happens, it just ignited me from inside. For the next few days, I was in this daze. I was in this different alternate kind of experience. It's a very simple phrase, but for me, it really ignited something in me. So I want to share that phrase with you. And I want you to just stay with it for a little bit, see what it does to you. It's something like an affirmation. So it goes like this. I am, and you can just let it echo or say it aloud, wherever you are. So I am a lighthouse. I am a lighthouse of source energy. I am a lighthouse of source energy. And as you know, a lighthouse is always beaming light all around. And what is source energy? In simple words, source energy is love. There's only one vibration that emanates from source, and that's love. And everything else is a step down of love. It's still love, but it's love little obscured. Everything else is love. So what's the affirmation? I am a lighthouse of source energy. So just stay with this for a minute or two. And the last thing I want to share today is something I sense. I've definitely sensed it in myself. I've sensed it in a lot of people. And I sense it especially strongly in spiritual communities, spiritual groups like this. This deep sense that I am an imposter. I'm not what I project myself to be. In other words, I'm lying. Yeah, you people think I'm nice and cool and generous, but I know, actually I'm an imposter. I'm not. Impostor syndrome. In fact, this is very popular in Ivy League colleges, the hardest to get into colleges. It is amazing. Secretly, people are believing imposter, I don't deserve to be. Other people deserve to be here, I don't deserve to be here. It is such a common thing. And in our context, the sense that, oh, these people only see my so-called spiritual side, but the family members know, my friends know. I'm a pretty mean person, pretty selfish person, or whatever it is, right? Impostor syndrome. In other words, no, you guys don't really know me. That's why you're saying that. So no matter how much we praise you, how much we love you, you've only taken about 3% of that. The rest of it, but you don't really know, right? You don't really know my private thoughts. You don't really know how. That's impostor syndrome. So I just want to say one straightforward thing to you, that your imposter syndrome is the imposter. Don't believe the thought. That thought is the imposter, not what it's telling you. The thought itself is the imposter. Now, how are you going to make it real for yourself? A simple practice. Every day when you look in the mirror, I want you to just say a simple statement to yourself. And I'm going to tell it to you the way I say it, and then you'll replace, I'm going to use my name, you'll replace your name with my name. So just hear me first, and then I want you to say it. I want you to say it aloud. Even if you're muted, doesn't matter, say it aloud. All right? So the way I look in the mirror and I say to myself, Nitya, just for today. What if nothing's wrong with you? Nitya, just for today, what if nothing is wrong with you? So go ahead, wherever you are, just say it aloud. Say, you replace your own name and say the same thing. Say it 3 times. Very powerful. Keep going. Say it 3 times. Right? And that is good medicine. This is good medicine for all of you. Take this medicine every day. And now let everybody complain. Let your spouse complain. Let your kids complain. Let your best friends complain. Let your spiritual teachers complain. Let people like me also tell you, oh, you're so wrong. And you don't listen to anybody. So no. If there's one lesson we can take from Donald Trump, it's this. I don't care what the rest of the world says. I don't care what anybody says. I'm the greatest. Right? Everyone has got something to teach us. Donald Trump has got something. Nobody in this world is here without, they're also teaching us something very powerful. The whole world can criticize him. The whole world can make fun of him. And you say, no. Just step into that. Just step into that. And you are the lighthouse. In fact, you're more than a lighthouse, because the lighthouse just radiates light from the top. But in a way, you're like the sun. Every particle of your being is radiating source essence, source energy. And I want you to keep saying this again and again and again and again until it becomes self-evident. And whether your mind believes it or not doesn't matter. Whether you feel like it or not doesn't matter. This is the big game of the ego. Oh, I don't feel it. I don't feel enlightened yet. As though enlightenment feels like anything. I don't feel generous. I don't feel loving. No, it's not about a feeling. Nothing to do with feelings. Your essence is prior to all feelings, irrespective. The best definition of love I know comes from the Greek word agape. Agape. Agape means to let be. Most powerful definition of love that I know. Love is to let be. When I can let you be, that's love. When I try to adjust you and say, become a little bit more like me, become a little bit more like this, a little bit more like that, that's not love. Now that is manipulation. And in the name of spirituality and self-help, how much manipulation we do. Why are we manipulating others? Because we are trying to manipulate ourselves. Because we don't like ourselves. And so because we hate ourselves so much, and we want to change it in everybody else. My prescriptions for others were always meant for myself. Which is why I'm keeping my prescription very light for all of you, but it's meant for me actually. What I'm telling you to do was always meant for me. It was not really meant for you. You may or may not do it. It was meant for me. And as I heal my own stuff, you people have no choice but to get healed. All right, I'm feeling pretty complete. Subha.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Actually, I like particularly the affirmations at the end. I think you're absolutely right to say that it's so powerful, because whatever we are doing, we feel that we're an imposter. Someday. Whatever, whether it's a spiritual practitioner, sportsman, banker, or Namita's in front of me, I'm sure she also feels that way sometimes. So all of us, this is an amazing practice. Universally, it's so fantastic. Yeah.
You know the meaning of guru, right? Guru. Do you know, Subha? Guru means G, you are you. The day you get that, then all of us are gurus. Because you can just let people be themselves. Oh, you are you. Wonderful. Good to meet the real you, right? Not the artificial you, not the manipulated you, not the curated you, just you.
That's right. One of the things which happened during our practice, Nitya, towards the end particularly, and I wanted to ask because you have, I'm sure, experienced a lot more of this in your journey. So towards the last of the 108 days, towards the last, I would say 20 days almost, there were many days, and people used to ask this question, that people would break into tears. And then they will ask, what's happening to me? What's happening to me? And I myself experienced that it was very easy for me to experience these tears. So people ask, what's the meaning of these tears? Am I feeling sad? No, but I'm not feeling sad. So just wanted your kind of steer on that.
I mean, it's just, for me, I'm very metaphorical. So tears flow, right? So you're getting back into the flow, that's it. You had disconnected yourself from the flow. You're getting back into the flow. And that will require some adjustment of your brain and your heart and your neurons and your brain chemistry. And if that leads to tears, or if it leads to laughter, or if it leads to running naked on the streets, whatever it is, then it's all right. The thing is, this is what I talk about a neurotic society. We don't understand what you're calling mental illness. Did you know what you call mental illness in our society? In traditional societies, it's called a breakthrough. And such people are given special attention, special care, because they become the wise ones of that society. So people who start in our society are hallucinating and schizophrenic and hypochondriac and paranoid. And we say, oh, mental breakdown is happening, depression is happening. Give them medicine, suppress. But in native cultures and traditional cultures, they're given special attention. They're given a special diet. They're put in special places. And when they go through that process, this becomes a special person in the community who has access to another dimension that the rest of us have forgotten. By the way, even women's periods, which may seem like such a, why? Why this period of the month where you have to suddenly now go through all this pain and all these emotions and all of that? In traditional cultures, the real reason for this was, for women, the matrix gets thin. And this is the time when they're supposed to withdraw from their normal duties. So the real purpose of not working in the kitchen and not going for all of this was not hygienic and all of that. Maybe that was one small, but that was not the main reason. The main reason was get away from your normal duties and withdraw into yourself. If you need to get away from the family, also get away from the family. Just go be by yourself. And you will now download certain things that the community needs to know, that the family needs to know. So that was the reason why women are in that sense Shakti, right? They are connected to the essence. So this is the gift, but now we've made it into a curse and we've made it into a problem. So this is how we've misunderstood. We've misunderstood mental illness. We've misunderstood these rhythms of life. Everything. So if tears are happening, how wonderful tears are happening. You don't have to interpret them. You don't have to give it any meaning. Beautiful. The flow is happening. Right.
Just reminded when you said about Archimedes and how he ran out and eureka moment, ran out naked from the bath. So that is a moment of, we call it a eureka moment, but we don't want it to happen to us. So I also, that thing, what you just triggered in me that we actually revere people who have been of this sort, where they have quirks, and we revere the quirks in others, amazing people, but we don't want it to happen to us or our family.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Do you know that this person, very quirky person, was born in a prison and then was a thief as a child, a big flirt, went on to become a driver, is the most loved person in our country? Did you get it?
No, we missed you. Your voice kind of...
My voice broke. Okay. So I'll say it again. Listen carefully, all right? So some of you got it. So this person was born in a prison, was a thief as a child, big flirt throughout the village, throughout the countryside, biggest flirt ever, and goes on to become a driver.
Krishna.
Right. So now look at the way I told the story in such a way that I don't want to even meet this person, right? Born in a prison, convict child, stealing thing, Makhan Chor, and the gopi, all the gopis are after him, and he becomes a Sarathi for Arjun. And from one perspective, this way I told the story is it's like no one wants to hire such a person. If that's their resume, that I don't want you. But then you tell it another way, and this is fascinating, right? So it's how you tell the story. So one of the assignments every single one of us has, is you have to upgrade the way you tell your story. Upgrade it. You should tell your story in such a way that every single incident, every single quirk, every single trauma was a divine event of your life. If you can tell your story like that, then you have done your work. The universe is only made of stories. Everything is a story. What you call an atom is also a story. Universe is not made of atoms, it's made of stories. Because what is an atom? Ask researchers 30 years back, 20 years back, 10 years back, 1 year back. Their definition keeps changing. What is an atom? It keeps changing. So an atom also is a story. The world is made of stories. And the quality of your life is the quality of your stories. And we are conditioned profoundly by language. We don't even realize how profoundly we're conditioned. Our language has got inbuilt ideas of time and space and how we are separate. The grammar of our language. When you study different languages, you suddenly say, wow, I never thought of it like that. I never realized it like that, because they have words and concepts that were completely alien to you. Like, for example, my teacher studied Thai. He came from Australia. He studied Thai language. Thai, one very important word in Thai is sanuk. And sanuk means fun and enjoyment and lightness. And sanuk is very important. Even in a corporate setup, if it's not sanuk, something's missing. It has to be sanuk. It has to be fun and joy and lightness in everything. Otherwise, it's not complete. So he realized, wow, sanuk is such an important aspect of Thai culture. It was completely missing in his vocabulary. Right? So like this, language profoundly conditions us. So one of our assignments is to upgrade the story that you're telling yourself. At the speed of light, keep upgrading the stories you tell yourself. And know the stories to just be stories. Anything I tell you about myself is actually a lie. But let me tell you a good one. Would anyone like to share something or ask something? Yeah, how are you doing? Yeah, anybody else wants to share something? Ask something.
Question sharing. We do have, incidentally, Nitya, since you liked it, we scheduled it that way, that we have in our group, we had someone who wrote poetry every week and read it to us.
Wow.
And we have her here right now to read her poetry for the day. And she tells me that she also has a short poem from Mary Oliver.
Perfect. So this is what we wanted to do. Mary Oliver, go ahead. Is it Noel?
Noel?
Perfect. Noel, look at the synchronicity.
So she's going to have Mary Oliver and her own too.
Perfect.
Thank you, Subha and Nitya. That was a really wonderful session just now with you. And strangely that you talked about Mary Oliver. She's also one of my favorite poets. And the poem that I wrote is also about birds. And so, but I'll read her poem first. Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees. For 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I'll tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. The world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. By Mary Oliver, Wild Geese. And here's my poem, which is a dedication to the community and to Suba for doing this really major efforts of yours. The title of this poem, Be Free. In the gilded cage of desire, fed with anxiety, dire, feathers tremble with fear. Behind invisible bars, cage birds despair. Thirsty they are, they say, shooting the breeze all day. Never enough, never satisfied, becoming prisoners of pride. Suffering comes to all, so sing the blues away at Preservation Hall. Hit those notes out of the park for hope to make its mark. In the gilded cage of confusion, flee the delusion. Leave your heart's rule, and may peace be upon you. When birds fill the dusky orange sky, fellowship meets freedom, bringing along wisdom, making their way to heavenly kingdom. God made birds to fly, not for them to live in cages. So break those chains, baby, break them. Lift those wings with might and claim your birthright. Be free, my friends, be free and be at peace. God made birds to fly, not for them to live in cages. So break those chains, baby, break them. Lift those wings with might and claim your birthright. Be free, my friends. Be free and be at peace. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Beautiful, Noel. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So beautiful, Noel. As usual, every week, this is the beauty that kept us going. Thank you for this love.
So nice.
Nitya, thank you so much for today,
Yes.
for bringing your love and your presence into our community. I would be lying if I didn't say that it's been emotional for me personally. I never thought we would do the 108, and I was sharing this today with Renu and Matanki that not one day did I feel it difficult to make the time. Of course, Renuka was so kind of accommodating and so supportive in this effort, but effortlessly everyone was always there and so present, and there was so much love. It's just, I felt divine grace every day.
You know, there's a nice, these three words came to me once, which I find really powerful. Three phrases. So the first one is show up. So wherever you are, show up. In your family, show up. In your community, show up. Show up. If you're there, It's not a mistake. Don't wait for other people to do stuff, right? If you're seeing something, in New York they say, if you see something, say something or do something at least. So don't wait for, if you're seeing it, if it's in your experience, it's your responsibility. So first one is show up. Second one is share your gifts. And every single one of us has a gift. And not just the gift of what we do, but the gift of who we are. But for that, we have to be in touch with who we are. So like being a lighthouse of source essence. Source essence is going to come out in a very, very particular way through you. It's not going to be the same that comes out through me. But that's going to be exactly, that's a note that you're here to play. That's the particular ray that you're here to shine. So share your gifts. And at many levels, in terms of doing, in terms of speaking, in terms of singing, in terms of poetry, in terms of your presence, in terms of your listening. There are many, many, many gifts. And you always have a gift in every situation. You would not be in that situation if you do not have a gift to share. If you're there, you have a gift to share. So number one, show up. Number two, share your gift. And number three, synergize. And synergize means notice that other people also have gifts. And stop looking at their faults and look at their gifts. And find a way to connect with those gifts, connect your gift with their gift. And now a symphony starts getting created. And magic starts happening. Literally magic starts happening. So this is, just keep these three things in mind. Wherever you are, just show up and share your gifts and synergize with the gifts of others. And you don't have to do everything. You see, I don't have all the skills in the world. Yeah, I can cook, but I'm not the best cook, right? I can do it, but there are other people who do much and they're much faster and much better at it. I won't let them cook. I'll help them out if they want. But so there are things that some people do that they're just better at. They're born to do that. There was this, all the animals of the jungle were asked to pass this exam. And the exam, they had to climb a tree and they had to swim and they had to dig and they had to do all of these things. And everybody failed because nobody was good at every single thing, right? The elephant might have been able to push down a tree, but horrible at climbing a tree. The monkey may have been good at climbing the tree, very bad at swimming. So like this, everybody failed the exam. And this is what happens. This is what our education system systematically does. Takes every one of us and puts them to the same grind. And then we all come out mediocre at the end. But no, the real thing is you show up and you share your gifts. If you're not there yet, then you ask yourself, what are my gifts? And you ask your friends what are, because often we are too self-critical. You ask your friends, what are the gifts you see in me? Find your ikigai, in other words. You are ikigai, that wonderful Japanese word. What are you good at? What do you love? How does it benefit others? And how does it help you pay the bills? That's your ikigai. That's what you were born to do. You're good at it, you love it, it benefits others, and it pays your bills. And please be creative. The reason we give up too easily is people see our parents and our friends, they compromise. Okay, maybe you have to just compromise. You don't have to compromise. The reason you were given resourcefulness and creativity was primarily to find your ikigai. Never stop before your ikigai. Everything is transitory. Yeah, it may have a purpose in the eventual thing, but it's not, if you're not feeling like it yet, then get super creative, ask yourself deeper questions. And don't settle. Don't settle for a job. Don't settle for a career. Keep going until you find your calling. And don't have to wait till you're 60 years old to find your calling. Find your calling now. Give yourself a deadline. In the next 6 months, I'll find my calling. And I'll find a way to make money out of my calling. And you will. If you get creative with it, you give yourself a deadline like that, you'll do it. Nothing can stop you from doing it. Subha has done it. Subha left his high-power job and the banking industry to do what he does now. Fooling around with 108 days and all of this stuff. Good. Nice.
Fooling around is the right word. There are some people who said, stop it, enough. don't continue. So there's a beautiful comment from Sukanya who said, if you judge the fish by its ability to climb a tree. So nice comment.
Yeah, there you go. Right. See? So in other words, what is effortless for you? It's just like breathing for you. That's your swabhava. And if it's even a spiritual practice, if it's effortless for you, like for me, writing inspiring things is effortless, or saying inspiring things is effortless. You can wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll get started. You know, it's like that's just effortless for me, right? But there are certain things that are more effortful, like filing my taxes. It takes a lot of effort. Okay, filing my taxes. Now what have I got to do? And I have to file. And you know, whatever you resist will persist. So I've got to file in India, and I'm a US citizen. I've got to file in India and in US. So whatever I resist in life, I'm going to persist. I've got to double file my taxes.
We'll throw a few more countries at you.
Right? What is it?
We'll throw a few more countries at you.
Throw a few more countries. Perfect. Thanks a lot. So then surrender. Then my mother comes, okay, I'll take care of it. Then my mother takes care. Surrender. Please, I can't do this. So then some CA comes and takes care of it. Right. So like this, you focus on what your gifts are and learn to delegate to others as much as possible. And then it's beautiful. Good. Good to see you, Kavita. Kavita invited me a few days back for a session. They had a yoga.
Sorry, I was on mute.
The yoga-thon, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I could just sit for hours and just listen to you. So I'm not interrupting, I'm just listening. And the word I'm going to take away today is agape.
Agape, yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you so much, Nithya, for your love, for your presence and your wisdom, as always. And as I said, for always getting us off to an auspicious start.
Yeah, I'd like to invite some of you to join. I've left Facebook and Instagram. What a wonderful thing. Feels great. And I've begun posting. I made my own platform. It's called belucid.in. And be lucid means whatever I feel like sharing there, whether it's a quote or whether it's a video or whether it's something that I've put together. I'm sharing there regularly, and you can.
I'm just putting it up there on the chat.
BeLucid, belucid.in, belucid.in. And you'll also get to know about any of my other courses and stuff over here. So it's just a fun community, and it's a very flexible thing. You can join for free. If you want to make a contribution, you can, totally flexible. And I would love to have some of you, because I love the energy of this group. If you'd like to join, if you're enjoying what I'm sharing, then come on and synergize.
Mm-hmm.
Let's synergize.
We'll be there.
Beautiful. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nithya. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste.
All right. Goodbye.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Bye.